right, well, we're here with Marcus Zincke. We have our matching cowboy boots. We have our beers. We're ready to discuss your artwork, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so let's talk about your experience, like your background, your practice. Like, what do you like to focus on, and how did you get into it?
How did I get into it? I'll start there. Well, I've always been sort of drawing things that takes your interest, takes your fancy, like, as a kid, sort of like, drawing like video games and stuff like that, and like, just making stuff generally, because my dad does a lot of paintings and drawings and stuff like that, just for fun. So it's always been like, it's the typical thing, like thinking, it's not a job or something, but it's just something you're doing.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like something that you've been around and you know that there's like a different side to it than just... Oh no, I remember I would always get in trouble for drawing on my homework.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's a classic way where you get like it beat out of you, you're like it's stopped.
Yeah, well, fortunately, it's always been encouraged for me,
No, it's good.
But it's I like to try and keep that same sense of just like freeness in a way that I can just like, if I get an idea, I can just
express
have
it.
a go at it.
Yeah.
Even just like, probably don't even think like, expressing it, just like, I thought this thing, how can I figure it out? And then I just give it a go.
Yeah, no, it's funny because when our first show we did together, you did like a video piece.
Yeah.
So like how did that go from drawing to actually directing and kind of planning stuff out like that?
Well, I was doing a lot of stuff prior with found objects and things, and I'd found this book about this certain character, this sort of countryman, and I'd sort of taken this character and done things with it with found objects and sculpture and things, and then I thought of this story where there was these two people and they needed to get to a place. I was thinking, I've never done it before, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And then got a couple of mates into it, like, I've got this story, should we have a go at it? It'd be a laugh, and we get something at the end of it, it's like something that we're gonna look back on.
A finished product.
Yeah, that's it. And it was just like the excitement of doing something I've never done before, which I always want to keep. So not even trying to feel unbound, but just going with it. And,
feeling the vibes.
Yeah, feeling it out, and just like always going into it as a bit of like a noob.
Yeah. No, so I think for this show, I don't know if you've seen this bottom part of the safe house too we're renting.
Yeah.
That has like a nice screened in area for projection. You'll have your slides up.
Yeah.
So like, we've talked about the curating of the shows, going for talking about the fleeting essence of time, and we're also kind of going for a nice cozy aesthetic. So how do you think those pieces fit into what we're trying to do?
Well, for me, I've always been drawn to like found objects, and just like, especially since moving to London, seeing so much like stuff on the street that people leave out, like not even necessarily the rubbish, but just like the stuff that people leaving out because they know somebody's going to pass and they're going to take it.
Yeah. And
every time I see something like that, it's always been like, what can I do with that? And it's like a free thing.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit.
I'm the same way.
Cheapskate. It's like you don't even need that thing, but you take it, and then it like sits around for ages, and it's like. So often it does just sit around for ages, and it's like, what am I doing with this? And then I get rid of it as well.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I take it and then quickly try and turn it into something, a painting or whatever, or I get another idea from it. But in terms of like the coziness and like sort of a homely sort of feel, I feel like I don't try and move out of some kind of like ad hoc sort of just like bits and bobs and sort of just mushing things together.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it all has to fit and like. Yeah. No, it's funny we're doing it in Peckham because it reminds me of like Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
You're like an artistic Del boy.
Yeah. Well, it's when I first came down to London for uni, I watched all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and always like heard about Only Fools and Horses from my dad, and being from up north and then coming down here, he's put a place to the name. And It's like
then you go and
it
you
actually
see
exists. The place actually exists.
Yeah, you go to all like Cons bargains and you see it exists.
Yeah, it fits. It fits.
It's very funny.
The bygone era.
For sure.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in the same way anymore.
Oh no, I mean like that's what everyone tells me about every neighborhood I visited so far in London. I mean like we're talking about we did a 100 Years Gallery last time in Hoxton. I was like, what's the wildest thing you've seen? He was like, well, in the 90s, you know? Everything.
If you meet any old timers, they're always saying what it was like before, and it might have been a bit madder or something.
A little spice.
Saying it's a bit tame now.
Yeah.
Going back to like the Only Fools and Horses, you know, like something that's really funny that I, like when I was watching those Only Fools and Horses and like sort of like really enjoying it, and it's just so funny. But then also how they made it, like a really interesting thing of what they did was in the flat that they have, they'd always have the furniture be constantly changing every episode.
Yeah.
Because the thought would be like, obviously, Del Boy and Ronnie, they're like getting stuff and flipping it straight away. So the idea is like the furniture's always changing because it's always coming in. Then
he gets a deal.
Like, so it's like the flat's completely different every single time. So,
I love that. Yeah.
So I suppose in terms of that like stereotypical Peckhamness.
Yeah.
I have that in me from before, just like being sort of thrifty and
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I feel like it's something in Texas too. God knows Fabian in Romania it also exists. Like it's funny that like in Texas like my sister lives in a town of like 100 people and it's like an antique town. So like twice a year like this big giant festival comes and like all the merchants come and sell their stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so crazy because, you know, as a kid, you always took it for granted. But now when you're, like, in your 20s and trying to survive, you're like, how the hell do, like, people hustle that hard? You know? Like, it's impressive to me, you know?
Yeah, and, like, the people that, like...
people complain, like, oh, I get, like, 2 days work from home. Like, I've been selling silverware for, like, 20 years. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's, like, a lot of the paintings that I've done for this show has like a lot of my trip to India this summer in mind.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like seeing people going around there, and it's like guys that like have like a cart of like bananas, and it's like I sort of imagine him like talking to someone like, oh, if they spoke in the way we do, it'd be like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I sell bananas. It's like nothing else now, just bananas.
Yeah, but that's it.
Bananas.
I really hedged on bananas heavy this year.
Yeah. It's like that's what I do.
You know, it's like
I loved it.
Yeah. I think like I don't know. That's why I love doing these shows. Is you get to meet a bunch of artists that are. It's very much the same mentality. It's like, you know, I create something for a living.
Yeah.
And I think it's been like fun with this group of artists because I think all of them are. I mean, all y'all are so different, just like personality wise alone. Yeah. But like y'all all have like a same voice in your artwork that you're trying to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the only thing really there is in terms of any kind of art is everything's been done before, but you know you haven't done it in the way that you want to do it. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
When you get that idea, that's the unique thing, and that's the thing that's only ever existed in your head.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get that, it's like how am I gonna make it straight away? like what's it gonna be like for me? Like what's it gonna be? Is it gonna be a story? Is it gonna be a painting? Is it gonna be like anything? And then what I'm gonna do about it? You know, and then that sort of good problem comes around.
No, like I watched an interview. What's the name of the director? He did like Twin Peaks.
David Lynch.
Yeah, I watched an interview with him. He's like, every time I forget, like, he's like, if I ever forget a good idea, I want to die. Like, it's like, it's like the death of something when you forget something. Yeah. It's wild. But
it is, especially if you're like half asleep and then you're like,
that's the worst.
Oh, good idea. I'll remember it, and then you fall back asleep again. And then
I have like my best ideas are always 2 a.m. on a Saturday, right? Sunday morning, I guess.
Yeah, it's that like, it's that like either like laid in bed or bored or like that's for me. It's often when like the good little things like come in and back of your head, you know.
So like Going off that, I guess, what would be some artists you think you look at and you, I guess, are impressed with like their storytelling ability?
Well, yeah, David Lynch. You've already mentioned him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty cliche, but yeah, I love the way he manages to squeeze these completely like terrible and fantastical things out of like the everyday sort of setting. Like Twin Peaks, obviously a good example. Tarkovsky, like.
Oh yeah.
Mirrors, like in terms of storytelling, like when I watch like people like them two, that was sort of the first time it's like, oh, you can tell a story in that kind of way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you know, you can do it that way.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like Marvel, like, you know, like in your face, like there's subtlety and nuance.
Yeah, and just in terms of like imagery and how you can sort of juxtapose things to go against each other, or you know, push in a certain direction narratively. But even just like when you hear a great story in the pub, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it goes off on tangents, and you know, you might have 6 conversations that sprout off of it, but you keep coming back to that same conversation.
Yeah.
And it's like it keeps coming back because everybody wants to hear the end of the story.
And they know that like I feel that. Oh man, I do love some classic blood stories at the pub. Yeah.
Yeah, they are great.
They're so funny. I like that's the best part about Texas. You have like that's all storytellers. It's just like this guy's been in this town for 50 years, and he just has been telling the same story at the same bar for like 50 years.
Yeah, and you can tell when you go there twice and he tells you the same story twice.
You look at the bartender and there's like, God.
Yeah. They literally know that story back to front. I think that's like a pretty international thing. Like, there's always like these same sort of faces that are around. But it's funny to think like where do, or at least I think this like, you know, when you get to meet people or you know people, you sort of try and figure out a certain sort of schema in your head as to like this guy's like a cowboy sort of guy. But what do people think? Where do people fit me into that? Or like where do your closest mates fit into that? Like what do people that met your best mate think? Oh, he's the musician guy, and they don't think anything more about him. But to you, it's a lot deeper than that, and I think that's something that I really like about storytelling, is that there's this person on the surface, and then when that idea comes into your head, you think, oh, he's a young man, and then you get to know him a bit more, and then it's a young man, and he's this way because something happened.
Yeah.
And he's at this point in his life. But at first, if you're watching a film and that person flashes up on the screen, you try and start to put things together in your head, like, you know, why is this guy in this position at the moment?
Oh, for sure. And like that's like the art of storytelling is showing what you should show and deciding what you shouldn't show, and like
that's it, yeah.
And I think that's like I think that goes well though with like your pieces also.
Yeah.
It's like I like the abstractness of them, but they have like a level of tangibility.
Yeah.
Like you think you can like reach out and grasp it almost, but it's nothing. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's like just doing enough of that. Went down the wrong way.
Oh, got me.
It's like it's the same. Like painting and like films and stuff. Obviously, the worlds apart, but like it's sort of like working something to the point at which. Like, not over-painting.
Yeah.
It's like, you've overdone it, you've killed the thing. I think the same thing can be done with the story in terms of, like, just like, over-egging it so much, it's like, you basically told me everything. It's like, I'm not gonna, you know, sit and think about that film.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing more to know about it.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's, like, when you start, you know, patronising the viewer or patronising the person that's seeing it, you know.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, you set yourself up for failure, I suppose. But
it's
easier said than done, obviously. It's tempting to keep going.
No, I agree. Like, I think that's the hardest balance to figure out in terms of just any artistic expression is like, am I pandering to somebody?
Yeah. Or to yourself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Am I stroking my own ego? Like, or am I just doing this because, like, I think it might be a good idea? Or is it actually a good idea?
Yeah.
It's like, but it's difficult to think that way as well, because if you start, like, over criticising too much, then
you'll never make anything.
Yeah. Or everything you make will be, like, so, like, I don't know, it just becomes sort of contrived in a way, like, you're thinking, like, you're constantly thinking, like, is this good, or is this like sincere, or like, I don't know, you just got to do it.
Yeah, and then you have to start developing a style, and then you're like, oh no, am I just buying into my style too?
Yeah. Or buying into something that you like you see something, it's like, oh, you see another artist, or you see something, and it's like, oh, that's my thing, and then you pick that thing up, and then it's like...
I had a friend in, like, college, well, I wasn't a friend, I knew her in, like, undergrad, but she's a great artist, but, like, she had this one style she'd always do, but, like, all of her friends always supported it, which is good.
Yeah.
But then you get out there, and then you realize, oh, I've been doing, like, the same thing for, like, 5-6 years now?
Yeah.
Like, what's the next step? Because I don't want to lose my base I've already established, and it's difficult. I mean, dude, trying to figure out what anybody wants is difficult.
Yeah. It's like not knowing even what you want, and then if you try and start thinking, like, what do people want to see of me, or something like that, if you're lucky enough to get into that position.
Oh yeah.
Then you sort of, like, pushing yourself into a corner again, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. Good conversation about some stylistic. I guess we'll end the interview with maybe give me a fun fact about Marcus.
Fun fact about me. That's the hardest question.
Yeah.
this is what I was saying though about, like, you know.
What's your ideal Sunday, Marcus?
Ideal Sunday?
Yeah.
Laid in bed, doing nothing.
Oh, vibes. Yeah.
Maybe get an idea to write something on my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Put it down. Interesting thing about me. Me and my mate won the Scunthorpe Spelling Bee at secondary school in 2014.
Do you remember the word?
No. Well, the funny thing is, though, is that we actually got knocked out.
Oh, yeah.
But the people that were doing it messed up. So they let everybody back in again.
Oh, and then we won it. Yeah.
Then we won it. Man. So I've still got the trophy at home on my parents' house. I'm still pretty proud of it.
Yeah, dude. No, those are the ones you got to remember, man.
Yeah, I think my mate got the winning one as well. Actually, I don't think it was even me.
Oh yeah.
I think I was just riding off his. It was like duo.
Along for the ride.
Yeah. I tricked him with a few words, but yeah, he got the one.
Dude, I used to do, like, Quiz Bowl as a kid, like the academic, like, it was basically like, you know, Jeopardy.
I know of it.
Oh, yeah, American. Yeah.
Is it the thing where they get the kids to stand up on the thing and then they ask them questions?
Yeah, they got, like, a board and they'll have, like, different categories